entry. All right, so the recording has started. So let's go back. So now we're in our CSS file. How do we style? The same way we're styling is other tag. You just mention what you want to style, H1, and then maybe space or whatever, then curly braces, and then whatever you want to style, you say it in here. So let's start with something simple, color, and let's say I want the color of the H1 to be red. Now, what do you notice? Come on, the color is not changing. Who can tell us why the color is not changing? I mean, we've already typed in H1 and color red, but still, the color is not changing on our browser. Who can, if anybody gets this answer, if anybody gets the answer to this question, let me not say it, but so what you answer first? Who can tell us? We've already specified the color for H1 on our. Sorry, I didn't get that. I didn't get what you said.
I think you tell us what you give the person that answer the question. So as I know if I just want to ask them.
You said what? I didn't get what you said again.
I'm coming, let me just type it. I said, tell us what you want to give the person that answered the question now. Let me know if I will click on ask Gemini.
Answer first.
Okay, I think it's because you have not closed the. I don't know how CSS works. Right? It doesn't work the same way as HTML. Or maybe it's because you have not reloaded the site or something.
Okay, let's try that. Let's reload the site. We've reloaded. Nothing changed.
I think you have not linked the CSS with the HTML code, right?
Who answered? Who answered just now? Who answered?
Casey. Yes.
Say what you said again. Say what you said again.
I said you have not linked the CSS code with the HTML.
Okay, good, very good answer. So, how do I do that? Come on, I'm new to this stuff. What is linking? How do we link? How do we link this?
There's supposed to be a tag for that right now.
This guy, you know this work. You just did this, guys. All right, you are very correct. So there is what we call, like Casey said, we're supposed to link our CSS file to our HTML file so that they can exchange information. If you don't link them, they are just two files standing on their own. The same way in this folder, we have this image here. The image is just a file standing on its own until we call it with the image tag using the source attributes. That's when we can use the image in our site. It's the same thing with CSS file. It's just a file standing on its own. Without linking it to the HTML file, telling them to interact, they cannot exchange information. And whatever we do on the CSS file will not translate to what is shown on our browser because it's not linked. The same thing for other languages as well, like JavaScript, for example. You must link your files together, right? So, like you said, there is a tag for that. Why I like HTML is because it's simple to a very good extent. This one, the name of the tag is still link. Now, you see various link tag options that come out when you type link. Link atom, link CSS, link favicon. The one we are interested in is link CSS. So click on that. So you see automatically as we've linked it, you see it just gave you in this href. Remember when we're talking about the a tag for imputing links, we talked about the href attributes that stores the link to another site that we can keep in our own site. It's the same thing with this href, that almost the same thing it does here. It tells us the directory or the name or where the CSS file is stored, and we put it inside our href, and then it's able to link our CSS to our HTML file. So you see that automatically, immediately I clicked on that link tag, you see the color of our H1 changed to red. So automatically that should tell you that, oh, it's working. So now we have that knowledge. We've linked our CSS and our HTML file. Let's go back to our sample and see the things we need to do. Now we need to centralize the image. We need to centralize the text, the H1 text. The color of the horizontal line should be blue, and the color of the subheadings should be red. Now, and I think the font style as well is different from from the default font style. So let's start with the simple one that we've already been using as an example, the H1. So if we come to our style, we've already called H1, but we're not using color. So if we say use the style attribute called text align, and we say center, you see automatically places the H1 at the center. If you look at our sample, that's all we need to do for H1. The next thing, let's centralize this image. This one may be a little bit tricky, but this is how you learn in coding. You must try your hands on these things. All
Sorry,
right.
I have a question.
Okay. Who's asking the question?
Uh, I I actually did some research on this stuff, and I think there's a HTML tag for that central.
There's a what?
There's a tag that you can use to centralize your heading.
Okay, tell us.
There's actually a center tag where you use the greater than and the less than, then you have the center inside.
Yeah, you mean this?
Yeah, something like this. Then you
Yeah,
put
you're right.
your
This inside, yeah. Let's try that and see. Let me comment this out first. So you are correct. It still works like that. I think we didn't really expatiate on that. There are other tags like that I can use for text formatting. I mentioned it one time now in one of our classes. There's the B tag to bolding text. There's the I tag for italics. There is the EM tag. There's the small tag. There are a lot of tags. Like I said before, there are multiple ways to achieve the same thing. Now you have seen that there's a tag to centralize text. We have also seen that with CSS, we can centralize our text. So like I said, there are multiple ways to do the same thing. So but for the sake of this class, and because we're trying to study CSS, we're going to be using CSS to do most of our styling. All right, are we cool? Are we still together? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you. My network just as well.
All right, so let's move on. So we've centralized the H1. Let's work on the image. Let's work on the image. So if we are to say we call H1, we call the image tag, which is img, put our curly braces, and then whatever I want to do. Now, let us try text align first of all. Because it's a beginning class, I'm going to use the simplest possible techniques to achieve things. Naturally, if I was working on a project, there's another way I would have done it that is way easier, but it's more technical. And because this is a beginner class, we will not touch that. But maybe when next we're having a class, our next class will definitely be longer. Um, CEO talked about having a 1 month class. So most likely in the 1 month class, we'll have time to try out a lot of things and go deeper into all these things. But for the sake of this 1 week class, let's try text align. Let's see if text align will work on images. So text align did not work on the image. The image is still at the left side. Now um there's a style element called float, and float is one of the ways we can move objects or items other than text. We can also use it on text as well. So as the name implies, float, it's used to move objects. So let's see what float can do. With float, we can position at the left or at the right. Now, let's try right and see. See, it takes the image to the right, but then it takes it to the right relative to the other text. So you cannot use it like this. This is not what we're trying to achieve from our sample. So float is not an option. What else can we use? Now there is what we call margin and padding. Margin, like your margin line, like that margin line on your notebook. I think we'll talk more on margin because it's what will be more applicable here. Padding is a bit more technical, but let's talk on margin. Now, where this image is, try to explain it in a very simple way. But margin is simply space, yeah, space between the image or whatever item and its respective sides. So I can have margin on the left, on the right, I can have margin at the top and at the bottom. But to shift this image to the center, I need to put space at the left hand side. Stay with me now. This image is on the left hand side. I mentioned margin appears on the four corners, top, bottom, left, and right. Is respective to all corners. It's the same for padding. But now we want to put this image at the center. So we need to move it. So we need to put space at the left hand side. And we can do that using margin. So the side we're putting space is the left. So we'll call the styling element, we'll call margin. Now you see the various options. There's margin top, bottom, left, right, inline, start. All these ones, just leave all these Google to go. Focus on margin, top, bottom, left, and right. Now, the part we want to put space is the left hand side. So if we go margin left. Now, in styling or in web development, there are various measurements for space or length or whatever. There is pixels, which is represented as px. There is view height, which is represented as vh. And then we have rem, rem. So rem is like rem is equal, I think is equals to about 16 pixels or 10 pixels depending on how you set it. But for your level, we'll not use because rem needs some preset stuff. For this beginner class, we use pixels. Even till date is what I still working on projects, because pixels is It's easier to understand and relate with. But for complex, there are certain complex projects you may have to use VH, which is view height, or rem as the case may be. But for the beginner stage, we're using pixels. So how many pixels can we move this thing that to give us, put it at the center? How many pixels? So let's try, let's say 20 pixels first of all. You see, it just gives us a little space. It's not enough. It's not still at the center. Let's try 50 pixels. It moves again, but still not at the center. Let's double it and let's say 100 pixels. Still not at the center. Let's say 150 pixels. Close, but not yet at the center. You must have a good eye for detail when it comes to web development, especially when you're working with a preset sample. If you are coding according to a design, you must aim to achieve almost 100% replication. You must strive for your code or your website to look as close as possible to the design. It may not be 100%. It will not be 100%, but it can be a very good 90%. All right, so 90 to 95 to 99% is very possible. So we need to put this at the center, and we tried 150 pixels just now. It still didn't give us. So let's try 200 pixels. All right, so like here it's looking a bit centralized, but if you have a good eye, if you have sharp eyes, you will notice it is still not at the center. There is still the space on the left is still less than the one on the right. So the one on the right is still more. So it's still not yet at the center. So let's add a little, let's add like 10 pixels. Make it a bit, let's say 20. All right. So like this, it looks centralized. If you compare it to our sample, we're getting somewhere. We've centralized our text. We've centralized our image. Now, the next thing is the HR, which is the horizontal line. Now, I want you to pay close attention here so that you notice something. If I call HR, I put my curly brackets. Now, the simple elements to call to change it from black to blue would be color. So if I call color, and I mention that color is not actually kind of blue, but let's call blue. You see that it doesn't change. The color of the horizontal line doesn't change. Now, in web development, in HTML, there are certain tags or elements that you cannot change or edit or style even with CSS. One of them is the HR, for example. No matter the style you will use, I think only once in my entire career as a web developer have I been able to style a horizontal line. And till today, I don't even remember I did it. I was just trying a lot of things, trying to style a horizontal line. But you have to do a lot of things to achieve just a little thing. So imagine me having like 10 lines of CSS trying to style a horizontal line, and maybe I just wanted to increase the width and decrease the width. So there are certain HTML elements that you cannot style with CSS. No matter the styling elements you call. No matter if I even call color 100 times here, call color blue again, the line still will not change. So one of the things you must know is that there are certain elements, HTML elements or tags, that you cannot change. They remain in their natural state, and one of such elements is the horizontal line. So calling the horizontal line on your CSS file, it won't change anything. All right. So how then can we now achieve this blue line? Now, I would have loved to get into it, but like I said, remember, this is a 1 week class and we don't have time to go into all the details. if we are to achieve that blue line, it's simple, but because of time, I mean, we've already spent over an hour here. I mean, I already lost track of time. So you see how coding can be sweet at times. You can just be going and going, and you don't know when you spend 3 hours on your laptop. But that's by the wayside. Now, for my level where I am, getting that blue line is a piece of cake. But for you guys that are just beginners, it may seem a little weird, and I may do some things that may seem complex to you. So for the sake of this class, we will leave this line as black. All right, we'll leave this line as black so that we don't get into some complex things. Let's quickly brush up and finish up this work because it shouldn't be taking this long. So the next thing we need to style is the H3s. So the H3s are color red. I think that one is pretty simple. So what we can simply do is call H3, put our curly brackets, and then simply call color red, and you have that. Now remember I talked about a close eye for detail. Look at our sample, look at our color. The shade is not the same. Our own is more reddish, if that's a word. It's redder than, if that's a word. Our own is redder than our sample. Now there's a beautiful feature VS Code has where you can tweak the shade of the color. You can change it, increase it or decrease it. Now if you hover over this color red, you see this interface that pops up. Now with this, you can change the color, change how dark or how bright or how thick the color is. So you see where this circle is? This circle is what determines the shade of the color. If I drag this circle, or if I just click here, you see how the color of the shade of the red is changing. As I drag it closer to the white parts, the red reduces. If I drag it closer to the black parts, the red increases. So the shade of the red can be tweaked using this interface. It's one of the beautiful features of VS Code. If you're to achieve this, without this kind of interface, you use what we call color codes, but that's not for your level. We'll not talk about that as well. So let's leave this here. I think this looks close. Oh, you see it now. It looks close to our sample. So the shade of the red looks close to our sample. We can leave this like this. Now, we didn't type this. Oh, let's quickly type this out so that we can do this italics here. If you look closer, let me zoom into the image a bit. If you look at this catering part, there's an italicized piece of text here. So let's see how we can do that. We can do that with simple HTML. So where we have the lorem, let's clean this off and type what we have there. It says you have fun ... and we follow the cooking black goose bistro, but the black goose catering, that's what's there. Whatever, let's move on. Come for here. Can handle events from snacks for bridge club to elegant for fundraisers. Alright, so now I talked about this text that is italicized. We can simply do that by encasing it in an I tag, which is for italics. So I simply use my opening tag, put my I, close that. Now automatically completes it for me. So you can simply copy this and put it in there. And then if you look at our sample, boom, just like that. So just like that, we can make our text italicized using the I tag. You can also make your text bold using the B tag, so on and so forth. So if we look at our sample and we look at what we have here, I mean, for a first time project, this is good. If we were to score this, somebody should score what we have done. Honest scoring. What do you think you would score us on this work we've done? Anybody that's still on the call? Oh, is anybody still here? Or no, don't leave me come out. Is anybody still on the call? I'm good, I don't sleep. All right, so does anybody want to speak? Any questions, observations, contributions, addition, subtraction? If you have anything to add, to remove, how we would have done this better, what you can improve
I
on.
can hear you.
All right, so I was asking if anybody has any questions, any observations. Compare what we have on our sample
Can you hear
and
me?
what we have. Yes, I can hear you clear, loud and clear. So, anybody has anything to say, any questions, observations, what you think we could have done differently or better? Any questions? All right, if there are no questions, I would assume, even though I don't like to make assumptions, I'll assume we all understood most of the things we talked about today. If you have any questions or any part you didn't understand, feel free to ask your question on the group, whether it's the WhatsApp group or the Telegram group. But sorry, preferably the WhatsApp group because I don't always check Telegram. So any question you have, ask on the WhatsApp group. We'll talk, any observation, anything. You can just anything based on what we've talked about so far. You can always hit me up. Right. So with that, we've come to the end of today's class. Tomorrow, I think tomorrow we'll also do another project, but I may have to introduce some other new CSS features to you before doing that. But we'll stop here for today. Have a good night rest. Have a wonderful sleep. And God bless you guys. Good night.